You need to be fluent in the name Yamamoto. You don't have to be fluent in Japanese if you don't so choose, though it's a fascinating language to learn. You don't have to know anything about what a rock star he was, figuratively, in Japan, playing in MPB, winning MVPs, Cy Youngs, the equivalent. You don't have to know that he signed a 12-year, $325 million contract when he chose the Dodgers. That sounds a lot like Stanton's deal, which was 13,325. Yamamoto gets it 1 year faster. You don't have to know that. You don't even have to know that he was the same guy who pitched a complete game against the Milwaukee Brewers in Game 2 of the National League Championship Series, otherwise known as the semifinals. You don't have to know that. What you should know is that when you throw a complete game anytime in today's Major League Baseball, it's going to be noteworthy. Didn't used to be. Didn't used to matter. You're the starting pitcher, you go 9. That's your job. I've seen a complete game up close in the World Series, a clinching complete game by Josh Beckett 22 years ago to the day that Yamamoto threw his complete game against the Blue Jays. When you are doing your pitching plan before a game starts and the Dodgers had lost Game 1, it wasn't a Game 7, but it was close. They needed to get the split on the road. They needed to show that their pitching was going to be better than Toronto's offense, given that Toronto's offense had crushed the night before with a 9-run inning in Game 1, winning that game 11-4. Critical for Los Angeles not to go down 2-0 and have to beat Toronto 4-5, which is what they'd have to do if you're down 2-0. Yamamoto coming off a complete game against the Brewers after giving up an opening home run to Jackson Chourio. I don't know if you remember, because it was so long ago, the leadoff hitter for the Brewers, Chourio, hit a home run off Yamamoto, and that was it. Crickets the rest of the game. You don't have to have listened to last week's Nothing Personal, where we gave you numbers and said if Snell, Game 1 starter LA, and Yamamoto, Game 2 starter in LA, if they go 17 innings again, which is what they did against the Brewers, that's 9 for Yamamoto and 8 for Snell in Game 1 of that championship series sweep. If they do 17 again, the Blue Jays are finished. Well, Yamamoto certainly did his part in Game 2. The thing is, Snell did not get to 8 innings in Game 1. What I told you is ideally having 11 innings between the two of them would be a dream for Toronto, an absolute dream come true. And they were on their way. Snell goes 5 innings in Game 1. If Yamamoto goes 6, which is a decent start, but not great, the Blue Jays are going to really win this series. But the 6th inning comes and goes. 7th inning, 8th inning. When Yamamoto struck out the side in the 8th inning of Game 2, you were going to see a Japanese pitcher in the 9th inning, guaranteed. The question is, would it be Roki Sasaki or would it be Yoshinobu Yamamoto? And when you are doing your game plan and you are looking at pitch count in advance, when you're looking at stressful innings, stressful hitters, you're looking at contact, whether or not there's hard contact against your pitcher. You're looking at whether or not the pitcher has command. Is he hitting his spots? You're looking at which pitches in the arsenal of the pitcher happen to be working. And most pitchers, man, I've gone into the games where our pitcher has 1.5 pitches. Fastball, changeup, and the changeup is fine. Had those. I've had a fastball, breaking ball, fastball, slider, slider, breaking ball, tiny bit of fastball. Yamamoto has 6+ pitches. The last pitcher I saw with 6+ pitches, at least in the scatter report, was Daisuke, another Japanese pitcher from back in the day, When he came to the big leagues, remember he signed with Boston. Boston gave Dice K's team $50 million. We wanted Dice K. No one else could afford him. Who had $50 million to write a check? We didn't even have that capacity in the capital markets. Dice K goes to Boston. Dice K shows up in Jupiter spring training for his first start of his career on the road as a member of the Red Sox against our Marlins. And he didn't really make it in the big leagues, but he did have multiple above average pitches. So just having them isn't enough. Actually having pitchability with them is what can make you one of the greats. And what Yamamoto showed going back-to-back complete games for the first time in a postseason since Curt Schilling did it in 2001. Crikeys, there hadn't been a back-to-back complete game committed by a pitcher, one of which games was in the World Series since Tommy Glavine in 1992. That's how long it's been since you've seen this late October dominance by a pitcher. You know, Coke, I just realized, Beckett didn't go back-to-back. Beckett had 2 complete games. He had one in Game 5 against the Cubs and one in Game 6 against the Yankees. That's 2 complete games in a postseason in 2003, but he started a World Series game in between that. So that'd be 2 out of 3, which is a good meatloaf. So I'm watching Yamamoto come out for the 9th. I'm watching the Blue Jays score 1 run in Game 2, which gives you a runs per game of 6, not too shabby, which just shows you the ridiculousness of that stat and how out of whack it can be when you have one game that is just out of this world offensively. And all of a sudden, the reason why Game 2 becomes so critical after the Blue Jays win Game 1 is that you're flying back to LA. When you are on the road for 2 games to start a 7-game series, get the split. You want to get greedy? Get greedy, but getting the split is what it's about. So in baseball, you fly back for 3 games now. So we have 3 straight games in Los Angeles, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's not enough for the Dodgers to win 2 out of 3 and win the series. That means you're going back to Toronto for a Game 6 and maybe a Game 7. If the Dodgers sweep, the series is over. If the Blue Jays sweep on the road, not going to happen. The series is over. The question is, who will win the 2 out of 3? If the Blue Jays win 2 out of 3, they got 2 chances to win 1 game at home. And you're thinking to yourself, that means the Blue Jays could win. Well, the Cubs had 2 chances to win 1 at home in the League Championship Series, and they couldn't win a home game with 2 way better pitchers going than anybody on either team, in my humble opinion, in the current Dodger pitching coach Mark Prior and a guy named Kerry Wood, who you may not have heard of. So I encourage you to watch Game 3, because any Game 1 of a 5-game series, you're going to see some stats, and we'll bring them up tomorrow, but you're going to see some stats about what it means to win Game 1 of a 5-gamer.